Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table podcast with PJ and Mike. Now, please find yourself a seat at their table.
All right, everyone, it's episode 9. We're feeling fine. This is Mike.
I'm PJ.
And guys, today we're talking 90s TV shows. Live action, no cartoons today, just live action, folks.
I have some favorites of mine from the 90s that I don't think can be topped by any TV show that's out today.
Oh. Mm-hmm. We're going to start things off, though, real quick with a childhood memory. And mine is we're going to talk about some of these shows on this lineup, but for those listening, you guys remember TGIF?
I do.
On Fridays? I think it started at either probably like 7 o'clock or 8 at least.
Yeah, I think it was like 8.
Man.
It was on Channel 7's ABC network, yep.
And I just remember, like, as a kid, like, oh, man, my Friday night, you know, I remember it'd be like Family Matters and Step by Step and...
Yeah, Full House was on that.
And it was just like that special, you know, I mean, that's just such a...
was Boy Meets World part of that lineup?
I want to say so,
I think it might have been. I think towards the end.
Yeah.
In the later,
and I just remember just like, you know, as a kid, just like, that's an excitement, just like out of school, like, all right, it's Friday, you know, you order a pizza Fridays, and you're hanging out with your friends after school, and at night, you know, you'd be chilling, and you'd be, you know, watching your shows, and that was like a big thing, like, you know, that's, you used to have like your big Wednesday nights, so I'm going to talk about, and then you had your, you know, certain TV shows. Now, streaming has changed all that, we know that, folks, but back then, you would have to run to get to, you know, you'd be taking a piss. You're like, oh my God, I hear the theme song.
You had to do it on the commercials because you couldn't pause it.
Right, you had a whole ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days. There were so many good shows back then that was, what they do now, I feel like you have to be an adult to watch TV at night now. Like, there's no kids shows really. Back then, all the shows are for families. Anyone could sit down and watch it together, which is something that I think is lost on TV. It's a different era of TV.
Yes.
You're not going to sit down and watch, like, Law and Order SVU with, like, your 5-year-old or 7-year-old kid. You're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's jump into it. Favorite 90s shows.
PJ, you want to start off with your...
Sure.
All right.
My
man.
I will go with... Not only is it probably my favorite show in the 90s, it might be in my top spot or top 2 or 3 spots of TV shows of all time.
Whoa. Okay.
A groundbreaking show.
I'm excited.
A show that has inspired a ton of TV shows that have gone on to great success, and they only had that success because of this show, The X-Files.
Wow. Okay. I never knew it because you never talked about it. Okay.
Yeah, I love that show. And I watched it as a kid, and I liked it. I got into it again later on after it was off the air and really got into it. But even as a kid, I watched it in the 90s. That, to me, is the first TV show that built a mythology. You know, there was Monster of the Week episodes, but they had this overarching story that connected from season to season.
Yeah.
Even the movie, it spun into the movie that connected to the show. But I think it's the first TV show to really give you a mythology where you had to, like, follow these characters and you were following one big story for the entire run of the show. And you didn't see that really before this show? I don't think, anyway. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I don't remember Columbo having a...
Oh, listen, one more thing. It'll just take a second.
A story that, like, stretched over every... right? I don't think they did. But X-Files did. Like I said, it inspired so many other TV shows. It inspired Supernatural directly from that show. The writers and creators of that show even said that X-Files is why... that show exists. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, another one that was inspired by the X-Files. These are shows that have their own mythology and overarching story. Like I said, that was started with the X-Files. The acting in the X-Files, David Duchovny is great. Masterpiece of acting. I think Mulder is one of maybe the best TV characters created of all time. Right. Scully. Gillian Anderson, I think she was such a great counterbalance to Mulder. They had a great chemistry on screen. That show it spanned genres without changing the tone. You had horror episodes, science fiction episodes, like comedy episodes, romance episodes, drama. but it never lost the tone of the show because it had that story element carried through every episode. So regardless of what kind of episode it was, even if it was a goofier one with a goofy kind of monster, it still fit the tone of the show, which a lot of movies, TV shows, they can't get that balance right. But I think the X-Files did. One of, like I said, I think the best TV shows of all time, and possibly the best TV show in the 90s for me.
Wow. Well, PJ, fun fact, I'd never seen the X-Files.
No!
Because here's the thing. Know why? Because I was a kid. I was actually afraid of it.
I got scared. I dropped my hot pocket.
I was afraid of the theme song, like the opening credits.
Okay.
That's another thing real quick is like, I missed this. I think this is missing and not only in film, but also TV show is cool opening credits.
Yeah.
I know now with streaming you could just press skip, but I think that really sets the tone. I'm very much into that kind of stuff. But I remember as a kid, I'd be a brick.
Oh, yeah. And, I agree about opening credits.
But then as I got older, I just never got it. But I always liked the idea of the X-Files. I love the Twilight Zone. So
I think
this is right up my alley. I should really.
You should go back and watch it.
Is it on Netflix?
I think it's on Hulu. Maybe it's on something. I want to say either Hulu or Netflix. It's on one of those. Go back and watch it, and the first couple of seasons is so 90s, and it's a. But I mean, I think the story itself and the acting itself.
Yeah,
holds
I don't
up.
really get hung up to like when people talk about special effects. That doesn't really bother me. Unless it's like. I mean, it has to be completely horrendous, and it's like it's drawing where it's affecting when you're watching it.
No,
but
you won't have that.
Other than that, I don't really care.
A lot of practical effects in the X-Files, and I know you're a fan of practical effects, so a lot with the monsters and stuff like that, and the aliens and the creatures that they encounter on this. I was going to say 9 seasons, but it's really not 9 seasons. They brought it back a couple of years ago for 1 or 2 seasons. And actually, the revival of that show is not as good as the original run, but close, in my opinion.
Right. Hey, long as it's... Yeah.
I think it's
that's a great choice,
I can't believe you've never seen it. I think you should go back and watch it.
Yeah, I was never opposed to it.
Okay.
Like I said, as a kid, I was afraid of the credits. Yeah. The song, like... I hear it in my head.
That was great.
The reason why... Too, I used to get kind of spooked out too, because my dad had the Pure Moods CD. Remember that? It'd be like late at night.
Yeah.
Like Enya.
Yes.
And one of the songs on that CD is the theme song to the X-Files.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then it actually gets like a techno beat, so it's actually kind of fun. But the beginning thing, like,
yeah.
So, well done.
Okay, what you got?
PJ, I just love this show. It still makes me laugh when I watch reruns. It's actually Home Improvement.
That's a great show. I should have put that on my list and I didn't, but I'm glad you brought it up. I love that show.
This show, I think, is just so special. I think it just for me, it just hits every checkbox.
It really does.
Bam, bam, bam.
I think it's underrated in that era too.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's almost kind of like a forgotten gem. And I'm not really quite sure why, because people always talk about Seinfeld, and that didn't even make my list.
We'll get to that.
Right,
it's on mine.
Right. I think it's a great show,
yeah.
but I didn't put them on mine.
But I agree. That's a show that does get overlooked, and I think it still holds up when you watch it. I think people feel a certain way about Tim Allen these days.
Right. I know. But for me,
I like Tim Allen. I think he's funny, and I think the show is great.
Funny. Well, I think that's why the show still holds up, because I guess now he's more into politics or whatever it is. But that show itself, there's zero politics in it.
No, there really isn't.
And that's why I think it has aged well. It doesn't feel dated. I mean, some of this clothing, whatever. That doesn't matter. But everything about this show, I just love. I love that the fact that it had like this. There's almost 2 sides to the show. You had Tool Time, which was just pure slapstick.
Yeah.
Which was like these practical effects of he was making a weed whacker, and it was always like, I gotta make more power. He would put like a lawnmower engine on the back, and somehow it was like a Wile E. Coyote thing.
Yep.
He'd get himself electrocuted. And I just love that kind of like, that part of the show was like hilarious. And then it became like very grounded, where like, him and his wife Jill in the show would like get into a scuffle.
Right.
And, like, he would have to always try to make it up to her, and like, I just love that whole.
And his Richard Karn, Al,
is
such a great straight man to his wackiness.
Yeah.
And Wilson over the fence. No, I think that's a great pick. Hey, here's a fun fact about Home Improvement. So the son, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, right now, I think is the same age that Tim Allen was when that show started.
Wow.
Yeah, how's that make you feel?
Whoa. That's crazy. And I feel like, That's another. Just talking about people's age, you don't realize how old they are. Like they say nowadays, we look younger than our parents at the same age. Health wise, technology, whatever the heck it is making us last longer. But yeah, it's crazy. I think he was like in his early 30s.
Yeah.
Like that, or mid 30s. But another things I want to just quickly talk about Home Improvement that I liked is, I guess, number one, that the balance between like slapstick and then just like the show itself.
Right, like a regular sitcom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. I think I talked about this on our last episode about that. It was romantic.
It was.
He's always trying to like win her heart back, and like it was. I feel like what's missing a lot of in today in film as well, in TV, is affection. You don't really see a lot of affection anymore in TV shows. Like like people just giving each other. I can't explain it.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Like a real wholesomeness. To a lot of these 90s shows. I think it's missing today, which gets to my next point. What I really liked about Home Improvement. I mean, I think it's still maybe with kid shows, but these shows we're talking about you can watch with families. It's like I always felt there was a lesson at the end of the episode.
There really usually used to be,
and it wasn't like political. It was really more about like expressing gratitude, or being affectionate, or
being respectful, or
a
lot of shows. I don't know of Home Improvement specifically, but a lot of the shows where they had like kids as characters on the show, there was a lot of like anti-bully messaging and stuff like that. Yeah,
I mean, they still have that now. On the Disney Channel, like Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, but no one's watching that.
But I mean, like, I don't know, maybe because it was prime time, everyone watched it.
Yeah.
It just felt like it wasn't forced. It wasn't like it just felt very natural.
Also, I don't know how many people in the world did that grunt that everyone was doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a great pick. That is a fantastic pick.
Yeah, and then my last thing I just want to kind of talk about, actually two more things real quick, is what the ho ho ho. It's like, look, I'm not, I guess, quasi-political, but it felt good to, in television, I think we're missing a lot of today is romance, masculinity, you know what I mean? Like, who's like, oh, man, I think that's not, any show. It could promote femininity, but do it. Do it.
Right.
Do it in a good way, where it doesn't feel forced and so inauthentic. There's just a fakeness. I feel like there's such a gloss when they do it. It's always like today, but I don't know. The 90s had that special way of just keeping it real. But yeah, love Home Improvement. So funny, still holds up, and I recommend it, guys. I really do.
Top notch pick.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, PJ. What's your guys and folks? We're not doing any kind of special ranking. This is just shows.
Just shows we like. No order here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with Seinfeld next. It is on my list. I know you said you didn't necessarily on your list, but
no, I love that show. Don't get me wrong, that show was hilarious. For me, I wanted to just do like different.
Fair enough.
Just different ones.
I think
that's good. You get to talk about it.
My thing with Seinfeld is it changed pop culture forever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just it added to the lexicon of the world.
Yeah.
Like how many people yada 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 when they're telling a story. That it's from that show. There's just things that would happen on that show that became just the world. And I don't think... I think that's because Jerry Seinfeld is more than being extraordinarily funny. I think he's one of the best stand-ups of all time. I think he's very smart.
He's very natural.
And he doesn't talk down to his audience. He's... His comedy, his writing, his acting, he's not talking down to you. He's a smart brand of comedy. And I think that's why that show holds up. You watch Seinfeld now, the plot lines are still relevant to what happens in the world today. It's not like these things are so dated where you can't relate to them. It's got a timeless feel with the storytelling and the plots. The characters on that show, I mean, Kramer, when he would bust through the door, or George Costanza, like these are characters that have just transcended
a lot of good physical comedy.
A lot. The characters on that show have transcended just being characters on that show. Like, people will call someone a Costanza. You're such a Costanza and things like that.
Right.
Because everyone knows them because of how popular it was and how funny it was. And I mean, is it on everyone's list of best shows? Probably because so it gets talked about a lot, but it's well deserved. I love that show. I think it's better than Friends.
I never liked Friends. I never could get into Friends.
I
respect it. I respect it, but I could never get into it.
I think it holds up more than Friends.
My fiance loves that show.
I think it's more relatable than Friends. I think don't think there's ever going to be another sitcom
Oh, no way.
as good
no
as
way.
that show. It's
No
never
way.
going to happen.
No way.
Seinfeld, he changed the world with that show. There's no other way to put it. He changed the world with that show, and he's so smart to have ended it when it was still great. You know, he could that show have been dragged on for another couple of seasons? Probably.
Yeah.
But it would have ruined it. It was at the height of that show, and they pulled the plug because he knew he wanted to go out on top. And he probably saw ratings going down. He probably saw the writing on the wall, and rather than drag it out, he made the decision that this show was over because they wanted more Seinfeld, I'm sure. But
yeah. Well, it went for like 10 years, right?
for like 9, I think.
Yeah.
And he could have gone more, but he had an integrity about his art.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's funny because that show almost didn't make it past the first season. It was,
Wow.
it almost didn't make it. It was almost canceled, and it got lucky. They got one more season, a better time slot, and
Right.
I actually think the time slot might have been after Cheers. I think originally it wasn't. I think they put it in that post Cheers time slot, if I remember correctly, and it got a great lead in, and that's what
Right.
was able to really build it up and groundbreaking, world changing. Pop culture phenomenon. So I had no choice but to put that on my list.
Nice choice, PJ.
All right.
For mine, I think this is another one that doesn't get enough praise or respect because everyone talks about, these aren't bad shows, Full House and Fresh Prince. Those are very good. But one that I think is people completely forget, and really how I think it's better than both of those. Maybe on par with Fresh Prince, even though I don't like Will Smith anymore. Before it, the slap.
The slap.
I'm talking about. I hate.
Well, because he's an overrated actor and he's not that great.
in those movies, but he had those 4 big movies. You know what I mean? And after that, I kind of
Outside of Men in Black, I don't think he's made a good. Men in Black and Independence Day. Outside of that, he hasn't made a good movie. But
like
anyway,
Bad Boys, the first one.
yeah, I guess.
But I chose Family Matters.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love this show. I don't know why this show isn't praised enough. I don't know why they haven't. I can't believe they have not rebooted. They rebooted Full House, but they haven't rebooted Family Matters.
And they're all still alive too, I think.
Yeah, I just love this show because everyone thinks about Steve Urkel, but he was actually a breakout character. He wasn't. Really
He wasn't supposed to be the main guy,
right? And then, but even like those first early scenes was just about Carl, and Laura, and all those characters. This show, like I just said with Home Improvement, each episode had like a moral, always kind of came back, but it just felt like, it was never like, I mean, yeah, the episodes were silly, but it never felt like, sometimes, not recently, like years ago, I watched a Disney Channel. Some of the shows just seem so silly, I feel like everything now, like with kids shows, everything's like throwing a pie, like all these like really like.
No, this is another great pick.
I understand they're childish shows, but like they're almost too child. I felt like shows like I said, Home Improvement or Family, they felt great. Never got like later on it got a little too cartoonish, especially with Urkel.
When they had the machine that turns him into Urkel.
But that would have worked if it was a different type of show.
Yeah, it didn't work for that. Yeah,
I mean, as a kid, I thought it was hilarious,
but now it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, but
this is a great pick, and I agree with you. I think everyone focuses on those like the what is it with the Tanners, Full House.
Yeah.
Everyone focuses on that, but I do agree that this was a better show.
Like I said, and also everyone on that show was funny. Okay, yes, Urkel was.
He stole the show because of how great he is.
But I love Carl Winslow. Was it Reginald? What's his name? Reginald Rose? No, that's the guy.
It's not,
the guy. I think this guy who wrote 12 Angry Men.
It is. It's like Reginald. Oh man, it's gonna drive me nuts. Val something or other.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Val Johnson. Or
something like that.
But he was great. He was fucking great. Harriet, she was great. She was tough. Mother Winslow, she felt like I was talking about before, affectionate, very wholesome.
This is a spin-off of another show. Family Matters is a spin-off show.
Yeah, from Perfect Strangers.
Which I didn't put on my list because I thought that was more the 80s and the 90s. But I love Perfect Strangers. But this is a spin-off.
Cousin was hilarious. Yeah. But with Family Matters, like I said, I think all like Eddie was funny. His Waldo, Moral, whatever his name is. All that stuff. Like, remember...
Was it Waldo, Geraldo, Faldo?
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite episodes is when, like, there's a gang and they destroy his aunt. I forgot her name.
Right.
Aunt Rachel.
Yeah.
They mess up. They vandalize the whole thing. So they get Urkel to go undercover. And, like, he goes into, like, the gang hideout and, like, they interrogate him. They pull his earring off. He's like, oh, look at that's a clip-on. But Carl had like his police partner. I forgot his name. He was a white guy.
Right.
But they like their chemistry was awesome. Like his partner was really his superior.
Right.
But like he was like kind of dumb, kind of like an Inspector Gadget
Right.
and the little girl. I forgot her name, but I love that chemistry.
This is another fantastic pick that you've made because
Thank
it really
you.
is an underrated show. Those are two shows that are underrated and don't get the love they deserve
Yeah.
because other shows overshadow them.
Yeah, and I just gotta I gotta just talk about these just other things real quick. I really think it's, I don't know, maybe I don't watch enough television, but like I really felt that Steve was really in love with Laura. Like he would have done anything. In the beginning she rejected him, but he never like held resentment for
Right.
her. He just felt like she doesn't realize how special I am. Blah 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 blah. blah.
He was a
But it
great
really
character
felt
actor.
just like so damn like
Yeah.
you kind of this is as a boy too. You have a crush on a girl. You're kind of trying to win her heart. And I gotta go into this other episode when he started to date Myra, which
Yes.
was a great. She sadly passed away.
Did she? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think she had like ovarian cancer.
Wow.
She actually dated Eddie in real life. But yeah, very beautiful girl. But there's an episode. I remember as a kid. I think I peed my pants. I was laughing so much. This is on TGIF. Okay, I remember because I was watching it at home. Anyway, she goes on because like one of his first or second dates or something like that, and she invites him over her house. Like, and they're gonna have like a bonfire in their backyard. So they're on a hammock. And Steve is like wrestling to get on this hammock. He's twisting around on it. It's like such brilliant, like slapstick, like Three Stooges type comedy, like a Buster Keaton kind of thing. It's so funny. And I think another thing that I still quote today. Oh, there's a baking episode where they become their own like baking. You remember it? Where like they blow up the kitchen, where like everyone has flour. all
Right.
over
Yeah,
their
I remember
face.
that one.
Great episode. And there's one though. It always cracks me up. They do like a talent show. And I think Donna Summers at the end sings like Last Dance. I think she's like Myrtle Urkel's,
Okay.
from Aunt Una from
Right.
Altoona, whatever the heck her name is. But Eddie sings I heard it through the grapevine. I can't think of the name of the artist's name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, Steve and Waldo are like his backup singers. And like the way Steve is singing, he's like like just doing his shoulders. Like, oh my god, it's so funny. So whenever I hear that song, I think about Family Matters. But what a great show.
The other thing
They
about
gotta
that show,
reboot it, man. I mean, it's you got it all there.
they also had a lot of poignant episodes in that shows that weren't funny. Like when Eddie gets pulled over by the cop and he's
Yes.
profiled, and he, his father has to, explain to him about
Yeah.
racism and all that stuff. A lot of poignant
Yeah.
episodes too with that show. Fantastic pick. You've
Yeah,
made so
thank
far
you.
2 fantastic
Thank
picks.
you, thank you.
My next pick is a show that I think often gets overlooked
Sure.
in the sitcom genre, and it's another spin-off show that I think might have actually reached greater heights than the show it spun off from.
Whoa.
Frasier.
Oh yeah.
Obviously spun off from Cheers. He was a recurring character on Cheers in the later seasons, and then they gave him his own show. And it's arguably a better show than Cheers.
For sure.
What I like about that show, it's the same thing I said about Seinfeld, is it doesn't talk down to its audience. That is a show that is just smart humor. It's not slapsticky. It's not... it's just like it's written in a way. It's
He's
highbrow
Leslie
humor.
Grimm, right?
Yeah.
He's the perfect. Talk about the
Perfect.
perfect. He's got the like the vibe
Yeah.
to pull out that kind of humor.
Yeah.
He could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean he was great, and he's great in everything. He was great when he was in X-Men as the Beast, Kelsey Grammer, and
Kelsey.
Kelsey,
I said
it's Kelsey Grammer. It's another show.
Maybe that's his wife's name.
The characters on that show are also memorable. His brother Niles, David Hyde Pierce, I think.
Yeah.
Is that who it was? I don't know if that,
I never watched.
yeah.
I wasn't a diehard, but I
Yeah.
used to watch it on TV. Here and
Yeah,
there. But yeah,
I think
liked him. He was obviously
He's
my favorite
great.
character.
The father, I don't remember who played the father, but he was a great character because he's such an opposite of what Frasier is. Frasier was this intelligent guy, this white collar guy. He was a psychiatrist, very polished on his radio show, and then his father was this like a blue collar cop, and street smart, but wouldn't necessarily have the book smarts that his son had, and the just the interaction between the two of them. They had the dog Eddie. That was always I think that's a great show. One of my favorites, and I think that in the
It's a very lovely pick.
yeah, the
It
same
really
way
is.
the other shows that you had were often overlooked.
That one was definitely overlooked.
I think
for
Frasier was
sure.
overlooked.
Nice. This next one, I think you're gonna think I'm nuts, but I feel like I wouldn't even consider this one of my favorite shows in the 90s. I just remember watching so much with my brother and my sister, my older sister.
Okay.
It's actually 90210.
I like that show. I don't think you're crazy.
So, all I can say with this show is, like, as a kid, like, it used to be on Wednesday nights at 8, you know what I mean? And it used to be, like, this big deal in my house. We also watch it. Not my dad, but my brother, my sister, my mom. I just remember, like, going back to opening credits. We don't have those anymore, but, like, I remember just be like, you get that saxophone playing.
Yeah.
Then you see, like, Jason Priestley and Ian Ziering and, you know, Jenny Garth, all these good-looking people. And I just remember, man, like, this is when, like, I feel like 90210, like, got me into, like, oh, man, besides the Pink Ranger, and, like, and Kelly Kapowski's in this show, too. I was like,
she
whoa.
is, isn't she, in the latest seasons?
Yeah, I'm like, this is where I started getting into, like, girls. I'm like, oh, yeah. And look, I don't want to sound like a hornball. I'm just, like, Jenny Garth, you know, good-looking girl.
I always preferred Shannon Doherty.
Sharon Doherty, she had, like, dark mystique. You had Tiffany Amber Thiessen, she played Valerie. She was like, oh, bitch. And, like, I remember, like, I was like, oh, my God, she's going to be in this show. And Kelly Kapowski is this bubbly, pretty.
And it's a completely different character.
And she's like, oh, bitch, you know? I just remember, like, I hated her on that show. There was a character named Emily Valentine. I don't know the actress's name, but she was, like, kind of like your rocker. She had, like, a leather jacket. She was, like, kind of punky and spunky.
They were hanging out at the Peach Pit.
Yes. Yeah, and there was another girl I used to have a crush on. Her name's Dina Meyer. People probably know her probably most. She was in Dragonheart and Starship Troopers. She was Dizzy.
Okay.
You know, like the hot girl. But, I mean, like, besides all these good-looking people, like, I always liked, because, like, that was like, oh, man, I'm a teenager. I felt like, oh, man, I'm an adult now. Like, you know, because I was like that kind of thing. But I love the theme song. I was like, you know, like I said, what I'm going to say, I'm a sucker for romance. You know, like that teenage love and, you know, and then they had, like, those dark episodes, you know, so maybe, like, using drugs. I remember one guy, I think it was, like, gun control, he ended up, by accident, like, killing himself, but with a gun. He, like, went to spin it. That was, like, David, what's his name? He used to be married to Megan Fox. What's his name? Mr. Austin Green.
Brian Austin Green.
His best friend, right, yeah. He ended up getting, like, you know, accidentally killed. It was like a gun control episode, but like all that kind of stuff. And I remember like too, this is like that kind of show where like, and say for boys, like we always want to emulate. So I want to be a Batman. I remember like this is when I wanted to be, like I said, was getting into girls, and I was like, well, I want to be
Luke Perry.
I want to look like Luke Perry. I want to look like more like Jason Priestley.
Okay.
I feel like I had more of his hair, you know, maybe his facial structure. But I just remember he was in that movie, like Calendar Girl, and like I think he played in another hockey movie, something like that. But
I can dig this pick. All right.
And there's one last thing, and I just have to talk about this because I always make my brother laugh. But there was an episode where Tori Spelling, her character Donna, she starts dating this guy named Ray. And long story short, that guy Ray in the show, it basically is like domestic violence. Like I think he slaps her and he beats her or whatever. So, but I'm sure the stuff like still happens like this today. But like he was getting like hate mail, like "Don't you hit Donna?" And I think he had to do like a press conference, like, "Look, I'm an actor. This is a character who I play. I don't really hit women." But that same dude, he was like in a band and he got like quasi big. And his biggest hit song is that I'm not sure if it was on the show. I know in the show I think he plays an instrument, but it's called "How Do You Talk to an Angel." So it's like, how do you talk?
I know that
to
song.
An angel? Yeah. It's like catching a falling star. Like that's him. So anyway, that whenever I hear that song, I get transported back to the '90s. And
that song is very '90s.
I don't know his name, that actor, but I hope he's still performing because he was. I thought he's a talented dude. Clearly, I'm not sure if I think he might have actually even wrote that song. You know, so God bless him though. But anyway, that's my pick.
I think my next pick, you're gonna think I'm crazy, because objectively, it's not a great show.
Okay.
But I love it anyway.
Right.
Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman.
Absolutely, man. What's her name?
Terry Hatcher.
Yo, another like '90s.
Just a knockout, man. She's
I like that show. Oh, yeah, man. It's a great choice.
It's the first time, and when you were watching in the '90s, I think it was in '93.
What was his name? Dean Cain.
Dean Cain, yeah. There really wasn't a primetime superhero show. It wasn't popular back then. So you weren't going to put on TV and find a live action superhero show at any time. they weren't really making movies at that point. The Batman franchise really wasn't as big anymore. And
It was getting fizzled out. At
yeah,
that point.
so you didn't see a lot of superheroes, and then all of a sudden on the ABC network, they give you a Superman show, and the cast is great on that show. But for me, I think it kept superheroes alive when they weren't popular. That's why I love it so much, and I always love Superman and. The like I said, the chemistry between Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher on that show was great. The villains, I
don't remember any of the villains at all.
They were not like the villains from the comic books that you'd remember. They created a lot of their own. The ones they did bring in, like Lex Luthor, they had him on the show for 1 or 2 seasons. He wasn't the Lex Luthor that you knew. They took a lot of liberties to make that show work for the time period that it was in with the budget that they had. But I think shows like that kept superheroes in the limelight long enough for something better to come along.
Yeah.
And so that's another show that was very, I won't say groundbreaking. It wasn't. I mean, it was a good show, but it did impact other areas of pop culture because the whole Death of Superman storyline only happened because they were supposed to have Lois and Clark get married in the comic books, and they wanted to have Lois and Clark get married in the show, and the timing wasn't right between the seasons and the production of the comic books. That's why the Death of Superman happened. They had to come up with a year-long storyline to have the wedding match up in the comic book and the show. So how did they find a way to fill that time? They killed Superman in the comics and did Death Bring Return of Superman. And it only happened because that show needed more time so everything could sync up.
That's amazing.
And that's Death of Superman. It's not a 90s TV show, but that is a big event, a pop cultural just dynamo. And it happened because this show, Lois and Clark, existed.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, so I think
crap.
there is some cultural relevance to Lois and Clark. And it's still a fun watch. It's goofy and in all its 90s glory. It's, the big shoulder pads and stuff on the Lois Lane suits. It's very dated looking, but it's a fun ride. And so I had no choice but to put that on my list because I love it.
Yeah, I don't remember much, but what I do remember is I remember Dean Cain, I remember he played that kind of like more classic, Clark Kent. Like, I feel like he always felt very smart in that show. He didn't seem like a dummy.
They didn't make him a bumbling buffoon.
Yeah, he seemed like just very like regular, smart guy. But I used to like how he used to speak in that show.
Yeah, the one thing about that show that I always remember, and it's the dumbest thing, but I remember it anyway. So Superman has X-ray vision.
Yeah.
So he can see through anything. But whenever he was Clark but had to use X-ray vision, he had to take his glasses off first. So he could. Why? You have X-ray vision, you can't see through your glasses to use the X-ray vision. It was just like for the show to like let you know he was going to use the powers.
Right.
I just always thought that was funny. The fact that he needed to take off his see-through glasses to use his X-ray vision. I always thought that was a funny little gag that they threw in. And the other actors in the show, I can't think of the actor's name right now, but the guy who played Perry White is a famous actor in that show. He's the lawyer from My Cousin Vinny.
I can't. I'm drawing a complete blank.
I can't think of his name right now, but he's a great actor.
Someone help us out in the comments.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you can think of his name. I can't think of it right now, but Southern guy.
Okay.
Always talk about Elvis on the show, and great shades of Elvis, he would say all the time. Anyway, one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, I like that. A charming pick. So this one's a little bit different. This is not. It's a. I wouldn't really say it's not a sitcom.
Okay.
But I just love this, and this is another thing I feel like does not get enough respect at all. The sketch show In Living Color.
I love In Living Color.
Dude, I think this show is totally a forgotten gem. People think about Jim Carrey, but let me just tell you who else was on this show. I mean, look at this lineup. You had Jim Carrey, probably the next one probably after that, or equal to him, is probably Jamie Foxx.
Yep.
But you had all the Waynes. You had Keenan Waynes. You had his sister Kim. Marlon and Sean. Tommy Davidson. He was the skinny black guy.
Yeah.
If you remember, see Ace Ventura 2, he's the one he fights Ace around the fire pit. He comes out in that little like bag on the guy's back. That's Tommy Davidson. David Allen Greer. I love him. And I think did I miss him? Damon Wayans. I love Damon Wayans.
He was a head detective.
Yes, and
I
I
love
was just
Head
about to
Detective.
say,
Yeah.
like, let me tell you something. In Living Color would not last 1 minute.
Oh, no, it could never happen
that
today.
Show, and I think In Living Color is better than SNL. I mean, yeah, you got. I mean, talk about the original crew of SNL, like Chevy Chase and all those other people, but this lineup and the characters they made in those sketches still live on. I mean, you had Detective Head. And what that was is David Wayne's. He basically played almost like Mr. Potato Head. He was a cop. It was just a head
with feet,
and like he had like a gun. Basically like Mr. Potato Head. That's what it was. But he was like a cop. They had another sketch.
At Homie the Clown.
Yeah, that was awesome. Where Damon played another. It was basically like this like ghetto clown. He used to like basically beat up the kids.
Homie don't play that.
He used to have a sock.
Yeah, he hit him with a sock.
The kids with. It's a great episode where it's Christmas time, but he plays Santa Claus Homie, and the kids are sitting on his lap. It's so good. There was another sketch where they had Fire Marshal Bill.
That was a great one.
Jim Carrey. They had
I used to like Never Underestimate the Power of the Handyman.
Yes! I was going to say it's another thing that would never fly to the game.
Never.
So, folks, we know what that is. Basically, Damon Wayans played this character who was, mentally challenged, and he was like a superhero.
He like fall out of windows and shit.
Yeah, it was very like slapstick, and totally offensive today, but
so funny.
It was.
They also when they did the movie reviews.
Men on Film.
Men on
Right,
yeah.
so Men on Film was these two gay men. It was Damon Wayans and David Allen. They played these two gay men, and they would review film. It'd always be something. It'd be different sketches. So it'd be like Men On. It'd be a different type. So they had one of the best. That's still amazing. Is called Men on Football. They do a special for Super Bowl. It's so funny. It's unbelievable. It's so good, and they're not making fun of the gay community. It's just the characters are gay, and it's so funny. It's so funny. They had another thing, like a lot of one of my favorites is Damon Wayans. He had another character. I don't know the character's name, but it was like this guy who was in prison, but he spoke he had awful vocabulary, and he was inarticulate. So when he tried to explain something, he would be like, "I want to ejaculate when I'm trying to precipitate." Like it was all these weird things, and it was just ridiculousness. And Jamie Foxx had a character named Ugly Girl, which is basically he played a girl. And like he would always try to go on dates,
right.
and but whenever he would be on a date or he'd be at a restaurant, they would never the male would be like, "Oh, she sounds pretty," or "She had a nice body."
Right.
Then when they would reveal, he would turn around, but it would be such oh my god, so funny.
And also that show had J-Lo.
Yeah, she was a fly
girl.
Yeah, and just like I said, I always say like really good shows, really good movies, really good bands. You have sports. It's talented people are involved. Actually, I want one last actress. Because she definitely her name was Kelly Park. She's like probably the only white girl basically on the cast. I mean, I'm talking about the first season mainly. But she had like blue eyes. I think you've probably seen her on other like Disney shows stuff like that. But her character, whenever she played a character, she did great. She was really good with voices and like accents, like Irish or all that stuff. She was very good, like our 1920s and like now my girl saying like she did that real like damsel, really good actress. She's very funny. But you're not gonna see a show like In Living Color anymore. I mean, they made fun of everybody, but never felt malicious and never was like, quasi political, sure, but never felt like forced.
Right.
Where it's like SNL now, where it's like, okay.
I can't even watch SNL anymore, but that's a topic for another episode.
Color, I feel like they had such a great balance of like comedy and we're like, they're poking fun, sure, but like it was never like it was always a joke, and I'm always a sucker for like opening credits and end credits, and I always like when they still do on SNL too, and other shows were like, okay, bye everybody, they had the credits rolling.
Yeah.
But I always like when the whole cast
they're on the stage.
They're just hanging out with a hip hop performer, which was kind of big back then. They didn't really have a lot of hip hop performers on late night or any of that stuff. So you would see like a Queen Latifah or maybe a young LL Cool J, something like that performing. So, but I think that show is amazing. You can get it on DVD, blah 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 blah. And I think they should have a quick reunion. Obviously they can't do all the characters; it'd be totally inappropriate. But yeah, I mean, just a great show. I just love In Living Color.
Good picks all around that you've had so
you.
far. All right, but you ready for a pop quiz?
Yeah.
This is actually an appropriate pop quiz because it goes back to something that you said a little bit earlier. You miss opening credits.
Oh.
So I have three questions. It's a quick one. I'm going to read you a line from the opening credits. You have to name the show.
Right.
Okay. So number one, and I'm not going to sing it. I'm just going to read it. All the little chicks with the crimson lips go Cleveland rocks. Cleveland rocks. Living in sin with a safety pin. Go Cleveland rocks.
I think I'm gonna be wrong. Third Rock from the Sun?
No.
No.
The Cleveland part is what to focus on. Who?
Yeah, you know us. I'm trying to think what the heck
you
is
have to ask who comes from Cleveland, Ohio.
I don't know.
That is the Drew Carey Show.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so that was one. Here's your next one. She was working in a bridal shop in Flushing, Queens.
Oh, okay.
Till her boyfriend kicked her out in one of those crushing scenes. Where was she? What was she to do? Where was she to go? She was out on her fanny.
The Nanny.
Yes.
The Fran Drescher. I love her. I had a crush on her too.
And then
Mr. Sheffield. Yeah, I love her. I love that show too.
That's another great show. Yeah.
Another Forgotten Gem show. Yeah.
And these I picked these because they're 90s shows that I don't think are the most popular, but they deserve being spoken about on a 90s TV show episode.
Absolutely.
And then the final one I came up with was don't fight the feeling you know you want to have a good time, and in my opinionation, the sun is going to surely shine.
That is Third Rock from the Sun. No.
It's not Third Rock from the
Say
Sun.
it again one more time.
Don't fight the feeling you know you want to have a good time, and in my opinionation, the sun is going to surely shine.
That last line sounds really familiar.
Yeah, as soon as I say it, you'll know it.
What is it?
This is another show that I think is deeply rooted in the 90s, and everyone has seen it. Blossom.
Oh, that was on my list of other shows to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. That was a fun show, too.
Yeah, and another
was it Joey Lawrence in that show?
Joey Lawrence was the brother, yeah. Another special episode of Blossom. There was always some sort of message being whipped in. The neighbor, her friend rather, was 6. Her friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Right.
The other brother was started off the show as like a drug addict or something. Then becomes like an ambulance driver. And
yes.
Joey Lawrence was just like the dumb character. He always said "Whoa."
Yeah, I was gonna say his catchphrase.
Yeah. So those were just 3 shows that I thought are great that came out in the 90s, and I knew I wasn't going to talk much about them because they aren't the best shows in the 90s, but I thought they deserved a little love, so I put them as the pop quiz.
All right, PJ, I don't have a pop quiz, but I can do an improv pop quiz. So this one is actually, and I have a couple of these shows I just want to mention. Even if we don't deep dive with them, I just have to mention them. But before we do, I have PJ's pop quiz. So for our audience, me and PJ, these are our clues, okay? Maybe the audience can try to figure out too. But you and I used to enjoy this show.
Okay.
It was on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
It dealt with outer space.
Space Cases?
Yes. So, folks, Space Cases was a show on Nickelodeon.
It was like Star Trek for kids, kind of.
Yeah. And one of the well-known characters on that cast was Zach from
the Power Rangers.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Walter Jones.
Right. Mm-hmm. The Black Power Ranger. Yeah. He was on there, and there was another girl who got somewhat kind of big, and she played Catalina.
And then didn't she have another name? Like wasn't that the character that had
invisible friend?
Yeah.
And she had rainbow hair.
Yes.
But yes, PJ, Space Cases. Mm-hmm.
Love that show.
Here's another Nickelodeon show. See if you can remember. I actually hated this show. It was a sports competition show.
Global Guts.
Yes.
Couldn't stand it.
That's stupid.
Could not stand it.
Aggro Crag, like ass Crag, Crag.
So stupid.
And
they'd win and they'd run around the arena with a stupid flag. Get out of here.
I know it's supposed to be like a Olympic kind of thing, but that show was awful, man.
But you know what show I did like was a Nickelodeon game show was Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh, dude, that was on my list. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to be on that show. You know, I remember as a kid going like, you got to do it. Everyone got stuck in the Silver Monkey thing, putting it together. But
the Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
Mm-hmm. Old Mac is like, who's gonna go into the temple first? You'd be like, I am. He's like, very well. It'd be like that was like the thing. But I love Old Mac. That was a great show. That was a really good show. I think they're making it now, rebooting with it.
They did. It wasn't great.
Oh, I haven't even seen it.
I watched it. It wasn't
out
good.
already.
I don't think it lasted.
Just another show on Nickelodeon, PJ. Maybe the audience can figure it out too. So. It's about 2 brothers, and they both have red hair.
Pete and Pete?
Yes!
Adventures
I never
of Pete
liked that
Pete?
show.
Mm-hmm. I liked it, but what I really liked about that show wasn't Pete or Pete. It was the strongest man in the world, Artie.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was very funny.
I haven't...
Yeah.
Wow, talk about an explosion of memories just now. Let's see if you can guess this one. There were twins. Show about twins.
Sister?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that show.
Okay.
They were cute. I used
Yeah.
to like their mom. I think her name was like Jack A or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But she had like
She's-
that kind of a cool voice.
Yeah.
I liked her. She was cool. Actually, there was all that, right? But these two became, I mean, just breakout characters. I mean, they were great.
Keenan and Kel.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, those
I mean,
guys. They had an episode one time where like they had someone left a message at someone else's house, whatever, and they had to like basically break into the house or something.
Right.
And like I just remember they have to get to the answer machine, you know, and they have to get the tape, which is like, you know, maybe our folks are too young, but answer machines like almost have like a cassette tape they used to play back.
Yeah.
So in the episode, they had to crawl through the window underneath, and I think people actually were home. They had to find their way to sneaking to get the something was on the tape, some kind of number, or they're gonna blow their spot. But
I used to always love Who Loves Orange Soda. Kel
Yeah.
loves orange soda.
Mhm.
Is it true? Yeah, yes, it's true. Ooh, I used to love that show. That was a very funny show.
it's amazing how like chemistry is like one of those things you just can't. It's when you see it, that's what it is, and they're a great example.
You know
of
they're
that.
they're coming back. They're
Yeah.
making another Good Burger.
Mhm.
Good for them.
I remember I'm just gonna ramble off a couple of things. There was a show called My Brother and Me on Nickelodeon.
Yep, I remember that one.
That's where I still use a line of "Cool Dr. Money." You know, the character's little brother wanted to get a cool haircut, and it basically put little dollar signs. He looked awful. It was horrendous. Actually, I think it's still a famous line in that show where the kid's mom used to say, "Don't hold your breath." That was like this line that became very big. On Nickelodeon too, there used to be Face. It used to be like this thing in the morning. Like,
Nick Jr.
Nick Jr. That's it, and that leads to the Blue's Clues.
Yeah.
But I remember also in the morning, I guess it was a game show. It was called Wild and Crazy Kids,
I remember that.
and they would just do all.
I hated that show too.
I used to like it.
I hated that one too.
I used to like that show.
You know what I remember?
Because it was
from
like
Nick-
a tug of war. It was
Yeah.
just like kids at camp basically.
Yeah.
They filmed, but I kind of liked it.
very 90s Nickelodeon thing that I always remember is Stickly.
Yo, I love that guy.
Now
They have like a flat. Now they call
Yeah.
it Flat Stanley.
Yeah, but I still remember you used to be able to write letters to them, and they would give you the address. And I haven't seen this in forever, and I can still remember it was write to me, Stickly, P.O. Box 963, New York City, New York State 10108.
Wow.
You could write to Stickly, and he would read your letter on the air. Because he was like, it wasn't a show, it was like a skit or whatever in between shows, and that was the address.
Right. Wow. Good memory, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow. I was gonna say, what else I got on here? I had Blossom. There used to be this show I used to watch with my brother. It was called California Dreams.
I love California
You
Dreams.
did?
Yeah,
Oh, dude.
I did because the blonde girl on California Dreams was.
And that show was like,
It was like Saved by the Bell on a beach, kind of.
yeah,
like,
and they were making I guess the dreams they would become a band.
Yeah.
So and
I'd be hard pressed to remember the.
yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah,
Maybe they're called Dreams.
It might have been the California Dream,
But,
but I remember that show. You know what else was a great show? Was Charles in Charge.
Charles. Yeah. Scott Baio, right?
Scott Baio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wrote the theme song.
Charles in charge of our days. And
So you don't have these cool theme
Yeah.
songs. There's no need for them anymore streaming. There's no need to have
But that was another one.
Sadly.
I think that might have been the same blonde girl, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know, man. I really don't know.
Yeah, but I just remember the blonde girl on California Dreaming.
Also, I'm not sure if these shows are 90s or maybe late 80s. That's why. But I used to like watching A Different World. That was with Sinbad.
Yep.
You know, it was more like a diverse, more.
Was that the one with Dwayne Wayne?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the glasses that flip.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
That was a spin-off of the Cosby Show because
Yes.
Lisa Bonet was in
Yes, I was like, she was. Oh, I think she's gorgeous, and she used to be married to Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz.
You know, and like.
And then they had a kid, and that kid became Catwoman, and
Right.
woo,
The whole
jeez.
family's good looking.
Yeah,
The whole
that's
family's
really
good looking.
something.
I think this is another show that I definitely know it started in the 80s, but it ended in the 90s. And it's just like one of those shows where I knew as a kid when I watched it, I'm like, wow, this is a serious show. Like, I felt like, I'm a mature person,
Right.
even though I'm like 7 years old. The Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years.
I
Okay.
always felt like Kevin Arnold,
Yeah.
Winnie Cooper, what was his name? Paul, is it right? His best friend
His
Paul?
best friend was Paul, who,
Yeah.
by the way, is not Marilyn Manson, although everyone thinks he is. He's not.
Yeah. I remember his older brother in the show, Ben Savage.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
I get message. One of the brothers became the main character on Boys Meet World.
Yeah. Well, Fred Savage.
Fred Savage. No, Fred Savage is on Wonder
Years. And then Ben Savage is
the
Boy
lead
Meets World.
character in
Yeah.
Boy Meets World. But yeah, and people, maybe this is common knowledge now, but Daniel Stern, from Home Alone,
Yep.
he does the voiceover. He's Marv.
Yeah.
The tall one, not Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
the other
the tall
one.
one.
He does the voiceover for the Wonder Years. But folks, there's so many great shows. Obviously we're looking at this through nostalgia eyes, but all these shows we just rambled off. Some, of course, are better than like Wild and Crazy Kids. Okay, that's purely nostalgia and memories. But some of these are like Home Improvement, The X-Files. You have great shows. I'm actually
Quality entertainment.
I'm watching Breaking Bad right now.
Breaking Bad is another show, I think, where some of the writers from The X-Files are on it. And The X-Files, they said the writing of The X-Files and that show inspired the creators of Breaking Bad to how to create a TV show.
On that note, Mr. PJ, looks like our lunch hour is over. Lunch period.
Time to get back to class, get back to work, everyone.
All right. Well, everyone, enjoy your TGIF. Same time, same table.
Later.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. Please visit PJ and Mike's website, coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com for more information. Follow the boys on all social media apps. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.